that's won a lot of support. So I think what's really helped me, and as I now evaluate my future, my next steps, I've been approached, it's no secret, by many in our community, many in the GOP party, who said, we want you to run for office.
Well, there's flattered. A lot of rumors out there, for sure.
A lot of rumors, and I got to tell you, I'm excited about the interest. I'm flattered, humbled, and I got to tell you, I'm certainly something I'm considering. I have not made a decision yet, but it's just not here in the state of Michigan. I'm getting calls from around the country, and I think one of the things that I keep hearing that resonates is leadership, common sense leadership, which I guess is not so common any longer. You've heard me speak out on some of the reckless comments made by some of those folks who sit in seats of influence, and I didn't say seats of leadership, but very reckless comments that don't do any good to move our city or our country forward. And so unapologetically and boldly, courageously, I stood up and denounced. I'm talking about your U.S. Congresswoman, Rashida Tlaib. I was not going to remain silent. And so I think because I've always taken a firm stand on issues, and again, unapologetic, whether it's defund the police, whether it's anti-police rhetoric, dismantling the police, I get to speak out. And so it's amazing how some reject when I come out and say it, but it's okay for other folks to just come out and make reckless comments that don't do any good, and they don't speak. And when you're elected, you're a public servant and you work for the people. And so when you look at our vulnerable communities in Detroit, who speaks for them? They want the police. Who speaks for them?
Who helps them? Who comes to them when the time of need?
Exactly. They don't want to defund the police. They want to fund the police. And so that's what's so important. So I think taking stands, and I certainly have won a lot of support from law enforcement, not just statewide, but around this country. And I hate to admit it, but there's not many who sit in the chief's seat that boldly stand up and denounce the madness. It's sad.
Well, I have a question, and I don't know if you know how you'd like to answer this, but when did showing respect for our country's flag, and even those who serve our country and that have created our great freedoms, when did that become a partisan issue? When did raising a flag mean you were a Republican or a Democrat hated a flag? And it just, to me, it's just like you said, there's no sense in it at all. And I don't understand how a symbolism or a metaphor for, maintaining peace among all races and equality among all people. I'm a firm believer of that. But why does one mean you don't do the other?
I agree. It's I've never seen a time in my professional career like this. Certainly there's a movement, and the movement is to undermine our government as we know it. The loud voices who represent the minority in our country are the ones that are being heard. But when you're in a position of leadership, whether it's as a chief of police or as a governor, a mayor, elected leaders across this country have to stand up. And to remain silent is just not an option. That's not public service.
Well, remaining silent is almost saying you're complicit with it, right?
Yeah, I'm complicit. And I got to tell you a short story. Probably a month and a half ago, I held a news conference because we had a series of 4 incidents where officers were attacked violently by suspects. And 3 of them, the suspects shot at the officers. And so I wanted to have a press conference and did, to denounce this type of aggression, this violence being directed to our police officers. I did that, but in the process of setting it up, I asked a very prominent local activist to stand with me, join me in denouncing this violence. And his response to me, without hesitation, I will not stand with you. So when you have people in very key positions that have influence, what's the message? Now, this same person will stand with me and has stood with me when there was an issue involving an officer who may have committed some type of misconduct. That's okay. We can stand with you on that, but I'm not going to stand with you on this. That was shameful.
Can I ask if was it because the officers were white? Is that why he didn't want to stand with you?
You know, that's a good question. In fact, in those 4 incidents, he didn't bother to ask. This involved some white, some black officers that was shot at. He didn't ask the question. Unfortunately, you know, the media drives out some in our community. Well, if the officer is white and the person shot is black, it's got to be a bad shooting.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, what's so disheartening is that no longer do the facts matter.